Welcome, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us today for this very special and important presentation that we have been so blessed to give around the country in in-person events this year and also over in Europe, speaking with cat parents and veterinarians and vet techs and pet health professionals, teaching people how to feed cats a better diet. And it's our passion project this year. So we're very excited to now bring it online to everyone here on YouTube. We're so grateful that you guys are so many of you guys are joining us, because that means that there's so many people that really want this information. So
this is going to be a little bit different than our normal lives that we do. We're actually going to go through the entire presentation, and then we will open up for a Q&A at the end, and we will stay here until we answer all the questions.
Yeah, we want to offer as much value as possible to the people who are joining us here live, but we also want to offer as much value as possible to the people that have to come back later and watch so that they can get all the information up front. So we're going to try to keep this presentation to 30 minutes or below, hopefully even less than 30 minutes, and then we will roll into a Q&A with you guys. We're just very grateful. So with that said, we've got a lot of devices going on here that we don't
usually have these slideshows. So this is going to be
this is our actual presentation that we've been giving.
Yeah, if you guys know us, this is going to be a technological challenge for us.
It's always a technological challenge for us.
Boom!
But look, wait, it's happening. All right, guys. So let's just dive right in. Many of you guys, obviously, who are joining us here already know who we are. But for those of you guys that might be joining us for the first time, I'm Jay.
I'm Adrian.
And together we are the two crazy cat ladies. We started in pet nutrition back in 2005, and which has been 20 years now working in pet nutrition. And when we started off, we learned a whole lot about the pet food industry specifically, and about how deceptive their marketing can be and their labeling can be, and how low, how they have such low quality ingredients in this multi-billion-dollar pet food industry. So we were grateful that we learned that. However, as cat parents, the majority of basically everything that we were learning about as far as health and well-being was about dogs. So we learned a lot about dogs and dog health, which is great. However, we're cat parents. And we could not find the resources that we needed to help our cats naturally, or to help our cats nutritionally. So in 2015, we branched off and decided to become that resource we so long to find. Our motto is learn, share, and grow every day. And that's what we've done for the past 10 years, is learned as much as we can about cats, how to help cats live the longest, healthiest, happiest lives possible. And then we share it with other cat parents, and then we grow together as a community. So it's a little bit about who we are.
But today, you guys, this is such an exciting topic for us. And I know that everyone here is here because they understand that feeding our cats, the food is foundational, and that feeding our cats a better diet is a great idea, but it can be difficult. Now, this is a journey that we have been through ourselves. We do understand the challenges of it, but we've also experienced the incredible rewards that come from being able to move our cats over, transition our cats over to a healthier diet.
Yes.
And I think that the beautiful Dr. Karen Becker says it best when she said, over time, the foods that we choose to feed our pets either heals them or harms them, and the responsibility to choose wisely falls squarely on us as our guardians.
Yes, but our cats, guys, that's the biggest roadblock in the 10 years that we've been speaking directly every day, all day long, to cat parents about diet with their kitties and how important it is. The biggest roadblock that we as cat parents have is, my cat won't eat that, right? Or my cat throws up when I try something new, or
my cat gets diarrhea,
or my cat won't try anything, or I've tried a million different things and they continue to say no. In this presentation, we are going to give you guys the one key ingredient that every cat parent you already have that will be the make or break for the success of this transition to get your cats eating a better diet.
And I want to tease it a little bit more. This is scientifically proven, a scientifically proven ingredient that will make this a success.
Yes.
So in order for us to choose wisely, we have to first understand, why our cats need a better food. And then going into that, figuring out what are these steps for your individual little picky kitty, if you've got a picky one, what they need in order to make that transition.
Right. So we're going to go a little bit through the science here, and we're going to kind of blow through it with different audiences that we've had over this year. We've spent more time on the science and a little bit less time on the how. But this one, guys, we know for cat parents specifically, and to open this up to the world, we know that the how is the most important. So we're going to go over the why, so you guys can really get, you won't do the how if you don't know the why. So the why is very important, right? So we're going to go through the why, and then we are going to discuss all the tips and tricks, all the steps that us as cat parents need to take, and that secret ingredient as well.
Okay, so let's first talk about the origin of our beautiful little fluff balls. This is one of those things that we first need to really get a grip on. Our cats are not small dogs. They are not iguanas. They are not parrots, that need, seeds and fruits. What do cats need specifically as a species? I think this was really awesome that in 2013, this is old news, but it got a ton of press. It was a study published in Nature Communications showing that our domestic cats share 95.6% identical DNA with tigers. And shared DNA is totally newsworthy. That is a big deal for us to understand that our little companion animals are connected so intrinsically to big cats. But it's more than just shared DNA. This is what's amazing. Our cats also share 95.6% identical genome with tigers.
It's much bigger than just DNA. It's the genome, which
genome it's even more important than DNA. So if you were to think about it like DNA, those are building blocks. Think of them as a brick. That's a piece of DNA. With those building blocks, you can build a room. And that room would be genes. Those are what shared genes are. A genome is taking all of those amazing things and building an entire home complete with electricity and running water. That is the difference between sharing a building block and sharing a genome. So that is a very exciting thing. So the differences that our domestic cats have between the big cats is that, physically and behaviorally, those are mainly in scale and application, their retractable claws, their hunting instincts, but their nutritional and biological blueprint is essentially identical.
Right. And what does that mean? That means that our little tiny tigers that we have here in our home are obligate carnivores. And what that means is that a true carnivore are those whose diets require nutrients found only in animal flesh. While an obligate carnivore might be able to ingest a small amounts of plant matter, they lack the necessary physiology required to correctly digest this in larger amounts. And what is the pet food industry feeding our kitties?
Look at this, you guys. So a reasonable approximation from global industry reports, including recorded sales from the pet food industry itself, and consumer surveys between 2008 and 2024 show that 96% of the cat food sold is highly processed, while only 4% of the cat food that we purchase as consumers is considered minimally processed.
Yeah, and I would say it's actually 96% ultra processed, right? So we're talking in today's day, like we're now talking minimally processed and ultra processed. And when it comes to our cats, now dogs are different. We talked about this last night on our Q&A with you guys too. Dogs are different. The dog parents, dogs are actually going into a different realm, a different statistic here. And that number has dropped down, I believe, to 80% from 96 over the past 10 years that we've been doing this. In the dog world, fresh food is actually rising. More species appropriate diets are actually rising, whereas the kibble industry, the pet food for cats are actually increasing. So that's why it's really important for us this year and right now to bring this to you guys, because we got to start moving that needle, and we have to do it with our cats, and we can do it.
So this is what the majority of our cats are eating. And I think it's really important for us to understand what is this food made up of? Because I think that we're gonna find that there's gonna be a number of issues that pop up that you're gonna find familiar, and being able to understand how foundational food is can really help us move the needle. So the needle.
So being that 96% of our cats eat a kibble only diet, that they eat the majority of their diet actually comes from a dry food. What's wrong with that? I don't know. Let's see.
I find this interesting that this study is excellent. So it shows that our domestic cats balance their own micronutrient intake by selecting low carbohydrate foods.
When given the choice.
When given the choice. Obligate carnivores have no biological need for the amount of carbs and starches in these highly processed kibbles.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we're the only, as Dr. Karen Becker said at the beginning from her quote, we are the only option when it comes to our cats' food. They don't get to choose as they do outside or in the wild. They get to choose what types of food that they want to eat. And science shows that they're going to choose something that is very low carbohydrate. We, however, are the ones that are offering them the foods, and the foods that, for so long, there's no shame in this, right, guys? Because if you know us, you know that we used to feed a kibble diet. It was all we knew. It was cat food. That's all we knew to feed. So we, put down a trough of kibble every day, and we let our cats graze like cows, and they ate just like that every day. But once you know better, you can do better. And now, we're able to see the lifespan and the health span, as Dr. Randy says, Dr. Randy, the pet vet, says the health span of our cats grow exponentially.
Let's talk about some of the health consequences of kibble. I think that this is, like Jay just mentioned, and Dr. Becker said, we're the ones that get to choose their food. And this is something that can make a difference every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day. So when we think about giving our cats only dry food, we think about the fact that it's a high carb and starch content. Our cats were meant to digest proteins and fats, not starches. And kibble cannot be held together without an inordinate amount of carbohydrates. Notice that they don't put that on the bag as well. It's not in the nutritional profile on your cat's food. You have to do some special math to figure out what that carb content is. And kibbles are usually 45+% carbohydrates.
Right. And carbohydrates, what we need to understand is that carbohydrates are inflammation. They are the food for inflammation. So they create inflammation in our cats' bodies, just like they do us. Right. So if you are going to your doctors, and even today, our doctors will say, well, are you eating a high carb diet? If you're severely inflamed, you have a lot of, aches and pains and things like that. We all know as humans that by changing our diet to a more fresh diet, to giving our bodies the nutrients that they need versus the junk food that we have an option to eat, we're going to feel better as humans. This same goes as mammals, and the same goes for our little tiny tigers, who are also mammals. So that on top of the carbohydrate count, we've got a very low moisture in a kibble diet, right? So, it's why it's called a dry food diet, is because it's dry, right? So it has very little moisture in it. Our cats are desert animals. They are unable to get the amount of water moisture that their bodies need from the water bowl. They aren't like dogs. They're not small dogs, and their tongues don't ladle up water. So if your cat is actually drinking a lot of water, that's cause for concern, right? So we want our cats to be able to get their moisture from their food. On top of that, all of the fillers that are in these,
Yeah, right. There's a lot of hidden ingredients in those fillers as well. But back to the moisture for just a second. If you think about the fact that, like real meat proteins, 70 to 80% moisture content, whereas the kibble is between 6 and 10%. So they're never, like Jay said, they're never going to be able to make up for the amount of hydration that they need at the bowl. And when it comes to the pet food industry knows that our cats are obligate carnivores. It's not that this is a hidden fact. It's not that many of us don't already know that. But when we think about feeding our cats anything other than cat food, it's like, well, why? This is 96% of what we cat parents are purchasing. What is the issue with that? And I think, the pet food industry has really figured out how to kind of manipulate the diets to include meat that allows our cats to survive, but not necessarily thrive.
Right. They replace much of the meat with the plant proteins, right? So,
Corn, wheat, soy, peas,
right.
Lentils.
Yes. So that our cats will survive. They will still survive, and they include meat, but a small amount of meat because meat's too expensive. So they replace that with plant proteins and other fillers that allow our cats to survive, but not thrive and not live the long lives that they actually deserve to live. Their lifespan is going down in rapid amounts. And we want to change that. And all of us do, I think.
So if we think about some of the health consequences of a kibble diet, there are so many diseases, but these are some of the known diseases that are impacted explicitly by diet: obesity, diabetes, urinary tract diseases, GI inflammation. You think of like IBD, IBS, all of these gastrointestinal issues that our cats are experiencing.
Chronic kidney disease and cancer, guys. It's, just on the rise. Chronic kidney disease, I believe 1 in 3 cats now is the latest statistic, will end up with chronic kidney disease at some point in life. Obesity, over 60% of our cats here in the US alone are obese. And this is all known. We all know that diet impacts this. And just imagine if we all, like, say we lived in a different world and we didn't even think about these like ultra processed foods when feeding our cats, and we fed them what they're meant to eat. I would bet that the majority of these would disappear on their own.
Be drastically reduced, but wait,
there's more.
Well, you guys,
yeah.
More science is coming out showing the significance of the gut-brain axis. And this is something that doesn't just impact, our overall health, all those disease markers that we just looked at. It affects behavior. So this is where, this is so important, because I think the number one reason that cats are returned to a shelter, they're dumped on the side of the road, they're rehomed, whatever it is, are for behavioral problems.
Unfortunately.
Right. And these studies are showing that diet impacts feline aggression, anxiety, and excessive vocalization, which sometimes I like, but
their emotional health, and again, just like every other mammal, just like us, our diet impacts our mood and our behavior. So when we think about all those cats that have been dumped on the side of the road, many of you guys are just beautiful rescuers, and you feed communities of cats that have been dumped, and you work and volunteer at the shelters, and that's such a beautiful thing. And you see all these cats that are just brought back to shelters or dumped on the side of the road, all because of behavioral issues, and think about the science shows that this gut-brain axis, by feeding our cats into health, by giving our cats their GI tract what they need, that access to their brain fires differently, and all of a sudden they're a happier cat. Just like us, when we're eating healthier, we're happier humans.
And think about this. I mean, we see this in our own cats. The idiopathic conditions that our cats face, there's more than 35 idiopathic, mean of unknown cause. We don't know why our cats are suffering from these things, but our cats are stoic. So 9 times out of 10, we've been there ourselves. We don't know that there's something wrong with one of our cats until something is very wrong. So by the time our cats are really dealing with feline idiopathic cystitis or hyperesthesia or any one of these idiopathic, we don't know why they're getting these diseases, idiopathic diseases, it's going to take an inordinate amount of pharmaceuticals, usually, is what we hear from our community, that we're just trying to deal with those symptoms instead of having a conversation about, is it possible that if we fed this beautiful species what their body needs, what their body is intended to eat, would this list of unknown cause diseases drastically reduce as well?
And I absolutely would say yes. I would actually bet my savings account on that, because when you think about these idiopathic ailments, we're looking, oh wow, thank you.
Let there be light.
It was so dark and now it's light. But when we're thinking about this, we can go right back to inflammation, right back to inflammation when we're talking about and how the inflammation creates stress in the body. And then you look at this, I can't tell you guys, in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, I have had a case of cystitis. We have had a case of cystitis come to us every single day. A case of feline hyperesthesia happens all the time. Every week we get people that are dealing with so many of these different things. If we took inflammation out of their diet, if we were able to take inflammation, bad ingredients, poor ingredients, things that do not serve their bodies, I would bet my life savings that all of these would dissipate. They would either heal themselves or they would disappear completely.
Okay. So we've gone over kind of a reminder of why it is so important that our obligate carnivores get species appropriate food.
Right.
And
now let's get to the how, because the how
this is what you're all here for.
This is what you're actually here for. Okay. So transitioning our cats to a species appropriate diet. And we're going to go through all the different steps here, guys. Right. So bear with us, because you're going to learn something in this presentation that is going to be super beneficial to your cat. Okay. So when we're talking about the how of getting our cats to eat a better food, we want to start with how do our cats actually eat?
So you know,
pushing the wrong button.
Do you know why cats have whiskers and how many scent sensors they have?
And what does that have to do with their food?
Right. This is something that I think if you guys are part of our community, you probably know a lot about it. But our cats' whiskers are basically sensory organs. It's what helps them navigate their world, how helps them judge everything around them. So they're like radar sensors, environmental awareness. They're a measuring tool. They help them communicate. They are hunting aids, and they have whiskers on more than just their face, right? And
they help them balance everything.
Right. Their whiskers are incredible. They're not just beautiful little facial accoutrements. They are very important for how our cats exist. And their smell is also central to how cats understand the world. They have more than 200 million scent sensors. We have a very small fraction of what our cats have. And just imagine what you feel like, what it's like when you are overwhelmed by scent, especially if it's an unpleasant one. But even if you are in the perfume aisle at a mall, many people will get literally nauseous, migraines for days. It's just overwhelming. Now imagine increasing that to 200 million scent sensors and how important that is. So this is why it's so important to think about the dish. Yes. How are we feeding our cats?
How are we feeding our cats? So just as Adrian just said, when we give our cats a small bowl to eat out of, which is what, we were always, what the commercials show, it's what we were always taught to use, is just, give your cats a little bowl, give them a bowl of milk, give them a bowl of food. When they put their faces, when they have to shove their faces into a bowl and those whiskers are no longer able to read or judge their surroundings, that creates anxiety. That creates fatigue and what is called whisker fatigue or whisker stress, whatever it is. Also, their scent sensors. When we're putting food, especially if we're trying to put a new food, right? We're trying to get our cats to eat a new food, but we're still putting it in that same little bowl. It is an aroma trap. It is holding in all those sensors, just like Adrian said, walking through the mall and smelling those like really strong perfumes. Imagine your cat, you put down a new food that they aren't recognizing it as food because they've never seen it before. They've never smelled it before. You put down a new food into a little bowl and they smell that, it's going to be overwhelming to them. And you're not probably going to get very far. So you want to consider instead using a plate, a wide shallow bowl, a platter, something that's going to release the aromas and allow their whiskers to still judge and their surroundings, right? We always want to consider the material. So material is very important. For those of you guys that follow us, we're very anti-plastic. So we want to stay away from plastic as much as possible, but stainless steel, glass, we use cellulose fiber. We want to use something that's going to be safe for them. But one of the make or break points when it comes to getting your cat onto a new diet could actually just be the dish that you're feeding them from. So that's not the key ingredient, but it is a key ingredient.
It is. So if you ever had a cat that actually just eats the middle of the bowl and leaves 2/3 of the food, but acts like they're starving, switch the dish. Yep. You're gonna be amazed.
Yeah.
So especially when transitioning diets.
So now let's get into the actual food section, right? So now we know what to feed them with, but let's get into the step number 1 when it comes to switching our cats from a dry food diet to a more species appropriate diet. Step 1 is going to be pick up that all day buffet. If we have food laying out for our cats to graze, then you will not get them to pick and choose a new food when you put it down, right? You're going to be way less successful at getting them onto a better food. Our cats are not cows. They were not meant to graze their food all day. They were instead meant to, in the wild, they are going to instinctively hunt and chase and pounce and kill small meals throughout the day, right? That doesn't mean, don't hang with us here. That doesn't mean you need to feed your cat 17 times a day, right? But it does mean that we need to start putting them on a routine.
But here's where I want us all to pump our brakes for just a second, because this step was the hardest for me. If you're used to putting down a trough of kibble in a Tupperware, and that's your one thing that you do to feed your cats every day, you're going to find that this is where you're going to have to really evaluate for yourself. First of all, think about the schedule. If you're going to pick up the all-day buffet, think about when you can feed your cats. Pick a schedule that's going to work for you and your cat, and emotionally prepare for this. Because for me, I come from an Italian family. I love my Italian mother, but I equate food with love.
Many people do.
So I want access to food all the time, right? And when you pick up that all-day buffet, your cat is going to tell you that they are starving. They're not starving.
They're not starving.
This is something, all the science for all mammals shows that it is wonderful for our bodies to have a time where we're not digesting food, where we can rest and restore and rejuvenate. Right. And that is very important for our cats as well.
Quick, very important health note here is that we cannot starve our cats like we can our dogs, right? So for instance, meaning our dogs, we can fast them over a prolonged period of time. And we can say, okay, you don't get food if you don't get to
you're not going to eat the food in front of you, then you're not going to eat.
Correct. Yeah. Like how I was, like how I was raised, right? Like you either eat your food or you starve to death. We can do that with our dogs safely. We cannot do that safely with our cats. Okay. So we'll take you through these steps, but do understand that starving our cats is not an option. Fasting periods, however, short intermittent fasting periods, absolutely healthy and absolutely safe. And so don't let your cat tell you that they're starving and 2 hours later, just give up and put down the all day buffet again. Okay.
They're very convincing though. So
they are.
Emotionally prepare yourself for change as well.
Yes. But why is routine so important when it comes to feeding our indoor kitties? Ohio State University did a study back in 2011 that showed the importance of routine for our kitties. And it revealed that taking our cats off of routine, not having a routine for our cats, actually 100% of the cats were showing sick behaviors, even if their blood panels came back. Okay, right? Like even if their blood panel didn't show that they were dying of sickness, they were showing that they were sick because their feeding routine had been taken off of schedule. So they just wanted to do a test and see, well, okay, they're always fed at the same time. Now we're going to take them off of that schedule and feed them at a different time or fast them for a certain amount of time and then, really mess up their schedule. So obviously, every routine gets broken at some point. It happens with us too. It's totally fine, right? But if we can start getting our cats onto a routine in the wild, they anticipate their meals. They get excited about that feeding time. And if we put them on a routine, they do the same thing in our houses. We see it every single day. You're probably going to see it in a little bit because it's going to be feeding time for our cats and they're going to start crawling all over us, right? So routine is really important. As much as possible, we want to get our cats on a routine. The routine, for those of you guys that are like, what time should I be feeding? The routine matters based on your schedule. What can you do, right? So if you work 9 to 5, then, you pick those times that work that you can feed your cats. How many times a day there's research all over the place. Do as much as possible that you can in small amounts, right? But the same caloric intake just as many times as possible and that work with your routine that you can keep up with, because that's going to be a very important key
And keep point. In mind too that there's automated feeders, there are fresh food feeders out there. There are a lot of options for us to be able to create something that's going to work for your schedule and for your cat.
Yes. Okay. So step number 2 is moving. So now we're moving from dry food to a wet food. Let's get going. First and foremost, we start very slowly and be consistent. Pick up that all day buffet. You've got that under wraps, right? Like they're eating their same kibble, but they're eating in smaller amounts throughout the day. Great. Now we want to start offering a little bit of wet food. We could do this by offering wet food instead of dry food when you first put down their morning meal, right? They fasted overnight. Now that's probably going to be their longest period of fast, which is going to be, 8 to 12 hours. Then instead of giving them wet food or dry food, let's try giving them some wet food and see if that works. You can also crush up the kibble and sprinkle it on treats on top of the wet food. You can mix the wet food. This is what we did. We mixed a little bit of the wet food into the dry, and we did it in whisper doses, right? So that we just actually started with a tiny amount to see see if they would get interested in it. They smelled the majority of what they smelled, and what their whiskers told them was, okay, this is my food, because it was all mostly dry, but then there was a little bit of wet. So they started associating that as food, and they would lick it, and then they would eat it. And then we'd increase that amount over time. You can also, if you have an uber picky kitty, you can place a spoonful of the wet food outside on that plate, right? Because now we're feeding from a plate. We can put a spoonful of that wet food outside of the dry food, and then move it slowly closer to their kibble over time, right? We just got to be consistent about this, because consistency is going to be key in this process.
Be patient. So this is the one for us that took a lot of time. So switching our cats from dry food, if you have a kibble addict, you're going to understand this.
We did.
It can take a lot of time. So understand that it's worth it. Don't go out and buy like a bunch of food. Don't be like, oh, well, I found this wet food brand on sale, so I'm going to get 64 cans of that, because they will not want that food.
They will want it for a couple days maybe, and then they will not want it.
Right.
For those of you guys that are cat parents, you already know, like, our cats are just, they're finicky and funny like that. So we want to diversify. Now, research also shows that diversifying the diet, mixing up different proteins, mixing up different brands, actually builds the microbiome. So we're also building health by diversifying the different types of food that we're feeding. Right.
And I want you to enjoy this part of the journey. A lot of people think this is the hardest part. I know I did initially as well, but this is where you get to explore your cat's palate. Think about the fact that they're not going to have to eat the same thing for the rest of their lives. That's it. Like, think about that. We have found that our cats, and they change, right? Like one day they like duck, another day Jack never likes quail, but some of them like quail. Like, they figure out what does your cat like? What kind of texture do they like? What is their favorite protein? You can really explore, like, enjoy this time. You're exploring something new. You're doing something important. And it's a really exciting time, not just for the science of how incredible variety it is and diversifying the brands and the proteins, but what does your cat like? Find out what they really enjoy.
Yes. And then we're going to move on from a wet food to a fresh food diet. So when we say fresh food, we mean minimally processed. This could be gently cooked. This could be a fully balanced raw diet. We do want fully balanced. Once we get them, onto a full fresh food diet, we definitely want it to be a balanced diet. And when we started 10 years ago, there was one fresh food out there company making this type of food. And now there are tons. So now we have so much available to us. And there's also plenty of options to recipes where you can make food at home, and or maybe we just give a little bit of fresh food if we're on a tight budget and we were able to get them onto a wet food diet. We get them on a wet food diet, but we add in a little bit of fresh. That doesn't necessarily have to be complete and balanced, but we want to just add in as much fresh food as possible. So steps are very similar, although this process tends to go a bit really faster because the texture is very similar in a wet food diet and a fresh food diet, right? And the temperature is going to be very similar too. So you do basically the same kind of steps, mix a spoonful of the fresh food in with the wet, or you could pour juices of the canned food. If your cat likes, a lot of you guys tell us that your cats only lick the juices from, if you're giving the shredded canned foods, the gravies, you can pour the juice or the gravy on top of the fresh food. You can place a treat. This is what we still do when we feed Jack quail or one of the, sometimes he's not into lamb, or we place a treat on top of the fresh food. And the treat, he loves his minnow munchies, so those dried minnows. So when he goes for that, then he's like, fine, I'm going to keep eating. Or you can do the same thing as with the kibble and wet food, and you can place a spoonful of the fresh food outside of the wet, and then slowly, again, over time, move it closer and closer until they start to identify. We teach them what food is. And so if we've only been feeding them dry food, as we did, our cats don't recognize other foods as food. So we teach them what it is. So that's why putting it outside and then slowly bringing it over during the happy time of eating, then they start to get the scent into their scent sensors, then they'll start associating that as food.
And this does go a little bit faster in our experience. For a lot of people that we know, it goes a lot faster than that transition from dry to wet. That's where a lot of people run into like the vomiting or the diarrhea. As Dr. Randy pointed out, that's because your cat's gut, it's not that it's bad. It's not that it's a bad thing. Your cat's gut is adjusting to it.
Right.
So it takes a little bit to just slow down the process.
Yes.
So pro tips, you guys.
Yeah. Pro tips. Again, the crushed kibble for kibble addicts, putting that on whether that is wet food or whether that is fresh food, the little lickables, right? The churros and things like that. Cats go crazy for that. You guys know cats are crazy for that stuff. Putting that over the new food will also help in this transition process. We use a lot of freeze-dried toppers on our raw food. We feed our cats a species-appropriate balanced raw diet, and we use freeze-dried toppers. Shout out to Green Juju. We love them. Our cats love them. And they all love a different type, but we crush those on top of their raw food to really get them excited about mealtime. Sardines are a great source of omega-3 fatty acids. Most cats are like die hard for them. Not all cats, but and tuna is the same thing. Tuna is not as healthful as sardines, but if you get it in a can, they're inexpensive, right? You can get it at the market. Only get it in water. Don't get it in any of the other oils or anything like that. But you can pour that. Sometimes just the water itself, just the tuna water, will get them very excited, or the sardine water will get them very excited, or you can crush up a little bit and put it on top, or even mix it in. Parmesan cheese, whatever it is. Here's what we want to explain is that this is a means to an end. If you are like, well, but I wouldn't want to feed my cat Parmesan cheese, or I wouldn't want to feed my cat the, high mercury tuna that comes in a can. Get it. Understand completely. However, we want to consider the fact that what we're trying to do is get our cats to live the longest, healthiest, and happiest lives possible. So we have to get them on to a fresh food diet. Again, they're not small dogs, so this is hard for us cat parents. In order to do that, we sometimes have to use trickery. In order to use trickery, we sometimes have to use things that are not necessarily the healthiest thing, but aren't going to kill our cats, right?
And it's not predominantly what they're eating. It is a sprinkle on top. It is something that gets them interested, gets them excited, and is not 80% of their diet.
Right. And then
this is really important. Don't overlook this part, you guys, because I went into this transition part kind of like scared of it and overwhelmed and feeling stressed about it.
She said I was going to kill the cats.
When it was time to switch to raw food, Jay had been doing a lot more research than I had, but there was a huge fear factor for me. I told her, like, raw food is scary. I told her I thought she was going to kill our cats. In hindsight, it was the best decision she's ever made for our cats. And it is incredible. It's one of the reasons that we're so passionate about this, because when you see the difference, it's not just a difference in their disease markers, y'all. It is the light in their eyes. It is their energy. It's their mobility. It's their behavior. It's everything. It's incredible what the body does when it's given what it needs. So think about this. Let's make mealtime happy and calm. Think about the energy that you're putting into doing this whole transition thing, and not just the why, not just the science, not just why it's so important, but this is a family member of yours. Think about how cat is. When you understand a cat as a species, maybe think about playtime before meals. Cats were made, that's how they do it, right? They hunt and then they eat. We think it's playtime. They're exercising their instincts. So that's also something that could be very, very enriching. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, so yeah, if that, and remember, this is also important when you choose that routine time, right? Because you want to choose the routine feeding times that work well with your schedule, that will make you happy too, right? So, if you're able to make their mealtime where you come home, you relax for a minute, and then we play with that wand toy and we get them going as the tiny tigers that they are in our homes, and we get them in expressing their instincts and going through that prey sequence, and then feed them and then follow it up with a meal, they're going to be much more apt to eat that meal, because that's what instinctively 95.6% tiger, remember, that's what instinctively they're going to want to do next is eat.
Calming herbs and cat grass. These are things that our cats absolutely love. And it can really help if you're dealing with a cat that's high anxiety or really having a hard time with transitioning. This is something that can really kind of just bring it down a notch and make it a lot easier.
Yeah, our cats love cat grass. Before, 2 of our cats specifically, every single meal while I'm preparing their meal, they jump up on the counter and they nibble on their cat grass as if it's like their hors d'oeuvre. And we love it. They're just getting their bodies ready to for mealtime, and that's to adjust for mealtime.
This is going to sound a little extreme, but think about this: letting your cat choose where they want to eat. Most of us have their little feeding station. They've got their water bowl and their food bowl, and that's where you eat, over in the corner of the kitchen. Think about this: cats instinctively know they don't appreciate their food next to their water. In the wild, they know that a food source can contaminate their water. So think about that. You also have cats that deal with, especially in multi-cat households, maybe you've got a Hoover in the room that goes around, scarfs their food, and then looks for everyone else's. You've got cats that they're solitary hunters. So a lot of cats prefer to eat alone. There's always an exception to all the rules with cats, but with our girls especially, every day, every meal, we follow them around and they choose where they want to eat comfortably.
Right. Yeah. So comfortability and feeling safe when eating.
Sometimes it's up high.
Yep.
Sometimes it's in their
I can't tell you how many people we've coached when they're like, I got a new cat. They're really anxious and I can't get them to eat anything. And I'm like, do you have a place up high that you could put the food? And they come back and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. I didn't even think about that. Put it up high. They have less stress because now they're able to observe their surroundings in this new place that they're at. And now all of a sudden they feel comfortable and safe eating. Let your cats choose where they eat. And then first and foremost, or lastly, I will say,
and most importantly,
stay calm. Your energy, we're not going to get too woo-woo on you here, but your energy, whatever energy you're putting out when you're preparing your cat's food, is going to go into that food and be possibly even a make or break when it comes to your cat's eating it. Okay. So there's old statement that it's never as good as when grandma cooked it, right? Grandma's meals were always cooked with love, they said, right? Like you might have passed down the exact same recipe and you make it and you're like, man, it just doesn't taste like it did when grandma made it, because grandma made it with love. This is very true. And the same goes for when we are preparing our cat's food. We want to be happy about it. We want to be confident about it. We want to sing a song, do whatever you have to do in your head to make yourself feel good. Excited about. I will tell you, it still happens to this day, because we can't all be happy all the time. Where it's not like we don't live in a rainbows and unicorn world, right? I wake up, I stub my toe, I'm hungover or something, I don't feel well, whatever it is. I make their food first thing in the morning before I even have coffee. And when I'm making our cat's food, there has been so many times where I'm not in a good mood. I don't have that song in my head. I'm literally stressed and thinking about the day, and I'm making their food. And then I put it down, and 99.9% of the time they don't finish the food, or sometimes nobody eats the food. So the energy that you put into preparing your cat's food is going to be very important in the success of them actually eating. Now let's talk about you.
You guys, this is where it's so important that you be gentle and patient with yourself. We can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get this right. And I should have started this, whatever. I know I felt that way after we did this. Don't. Every little bit, every little baby step makes a big difference. Be patient and gentle with yourself. Be confident about what you're doing. Knowing the science of it is great, but also think about, there's there can be a lot of pushback in the fresh food world. Understand that our cats are obligate carnivores and that we're confident about giving them what their bodies need. And that confidence helps with the consistency of continuing the process of transitioning.
And again, consistency is going to be key in this process, and it will build your confidence, because the science actually does show, when we say every little bit helps, science actually shows that simply replacing a small percentage, like 20 to 25% of your cat's ultra processed food with fresh food, can reduce disease markers in pets by massive amounts, right? Like huge amounts. So every little bit that you get your cat to eat, whether it's a piece of organ meat, it's a little liver here, it's a little bit of, a fresh sardine.
Celebrate.
It's a little bit, celebrate. Don't beat yourself up. Celebrate your wins. Pat yourself on the back for every tiny bit of fresh food that your cats eat, even if it's just a piece of cooked chicken that you were making for the family and you shared it with your cat. This is good. These are steps in the right direction. Consistency is going to be key. All right.
And now, ready?
Are you ready for the key ingredient that you already have at home right now?
This is it, y'all.
Patience. Patience and perseverance pays, guys. We call it the 3 Ps: patience and perseverance. So consistency and patience pays, right? So
this isn't, like the study showed at the beginning of this, that our cats will naturally themselves balance their micronutrient intake. And now science is proving this. This was an incredible research project that was done with more than 30 cats, where they offered them 3 different types of food. The first was a fish flavored food that was completely unbalanced. The second was a rabbit flavored food that was completely unbalanced. And the third was a citrus flavored food. As you guys know, we use citrus as a deterrent for our cats many times. It was complete and balanced. This study proved that over time, given the choice, every single one of those cats first went to the fish, then to the rabbit. By the end of this study, they were all eating the orange flavored
food.
This is why patience is the key ingredient.
Right. This is why science shows that patience is the key ingredient, because in this study, they continued to leave out these 3 different types of food. One was good for the body. 2, and then we're talking about just the flavors they put in there, right? But the flavors that they put into these foods, they all went to Taco Bell first, right? And then they're like, oh, maybe we should go over to Panera Bread. And then they're like, okay, by the end of the study, every single cat was eating a homemade, nice diet, right? They were all eating what their bodies needed. So if we are patient and we persevere on a regular basis, small baby steps over time, but we continue to be consistent and persistent in giving our cats the option to eat a better diet, you will be successful and your cat will be on a better diet. So just so you don't have to have all of this information or take screenshots of every slide, we did get the URL feedcatsbetter.com for all of you guys all of you veterinarians or vet techs or holistic practitioners out there that are watching right now. If you have, your clients, you're trying to coach your clients on getting their cats onto a better diet, this is for you. For those of you guys that have friends that you're like, I really want them to feed their cats better, send them to feedcatsbetter.com. It's a complete free site. There's no gimmick or anything. They don't have to leave an email address. It's a public site, but it has this information. This video will also go on this page. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Here we go. That's it. So we did not make it under 30 minutes.
No, not even close. But we are going to open up for Q&A. We had our comments shut off because I am a squirrel and I am absolutely
Adrian is a squirrel. She is an actual squirrel.
By every comment. But now we will open up for Q&A. If you guys have them, if you wrote them down, please.
It looks like we have 109 comments in here right now.
Oh.
So we're going to start going through these.
Oh, Sissy told me to write them down the questions. So let's see.
No, we can go back. Okay. We can go back and see if there's any questions. You guys might be chatting with each other too, but we're going to go into Q&A, and we're just very excited that you guys allowed us the opportunity, that you joined us today, and that you allowed us the opportunity to give you our presentation. Okay, yeah, just a bunch of hellos and love.
Hi,
love you guys so much. So also, side note, as soon as I hit go live, it said Facebook is not working.
Facebook is having so many issues these days.
Thank you for being on YouTube. We've got still 80 people on here. So thank you. Let's see if we have any questions that we didn't already answer through the presentation.
Any healthy kibble, like the ones that have minimally processed or low carb, there really isn't a healthy kibble. I think that they're, as far as what an obligate carnivore really needs, obviously, a fed cat is always better than a starving cat. This is really about, what you can do within your means. We have found, however, that the better kibbles are usually much more expensive than even a minimally grade canned food. So
yes,
but without the moisture that's so important for our cats.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, so many of you guys.
Laura-Lee.
Freeze dried. Well, let's talk about freeze dried a little bit too. So freeze dried is another option. So there's so many different types of food that we can feed our cats now. And freeze dried is one of those that is actually really great in this transition process too. You can, because now they make them that they feel like kibble, right? So they're not but they're crunchy like kibble. So if we want to start to maybe just like change our cat's overall health, right? Because we're going to reduce that carbohydrate count and fillers by a whole lot by going to a good freeze-dried brand, but still keep them on this easy to, convenient food for now while we're trying to figure out how to get them onto a moisture-rich diet. A freeze-dried is a great option. Hands down, I would do that over a healthy kibble.
My cat was recently diagnosed with kidney disease. I was given Hill's Science Diet prescription food. He was on cat canned food, but has now become extremely fussy. Please help.
Yes.
Okay. So this is
we get this all the time. All right.
Really where some of those trickeries may come in handy.
Yes. So when it comes to, here's the issue when it comes to kidney disease. And you can go back on YouTube. We have several interviews with veterinarians beautiful veterinarians that deal with cats that have kidney disease on a regular basis and do not switch their diet to a low protein diet. The problem is, especially if we are in stage 1, stage 2 kidney disease, now the studies show, and unfortunately most of our vets are just too busy to be able to follow research now and do continued education or education at all in the nutritional realm. So the only thing they have to rely on are the pet food manufacturers that come in and say, hey, we have formulated by science a great food that is good for your clients if they have kidney disease. Unfortunately, science shows, the studies now show that reducing that amount of protein, reducing protein in our obligate carnivores, right? Our tiny tigers, reducing that protein for a cat with kidney disease is their bodies begin to just eat atrophy. So it basically eats itself, right? So they start to lose.
Besson talks about how important those proteins, amino acids are. So literally when you remove those proteins, it's as if the cat starts cannibalizing their own muscle mass. And that's where you can spot a kidney quickly.
Yeah. So we don't want to do that. There are many alternatives. If we're looking at a fresh food diet, if your cat was on a canned food diet, there are like low phosphorus and canned foods that are out there that are great. There are also phosphorus binders that you can use. If you're going to a fresh food, there are fresh foods that use, and what we did with our cat, because the reason that we switched to a raw diet was because our oldest cat was diagnosed with kidney disease. Did we say that in the presentation?
No.
I don't think we did. But it was because our oldest cat was diagnosed with kidney disease at age 18. And I was like, we're doing it. I've done enough research. We're switching them over. We switched them to, instead of when you think about a whole food diet, right? Like or a raw food diet, you think bones and organs and meat, right? Meat, bones, organs. But we took out that bone portion because that's a little harder on the kidneys, and we replaced that with eggshell calcium. That is a super safe food, and there are many companies that do that. There's also for prescription diet, there's also Darwin's, formulated by none other than Dr. Barbara Royal. She formulated their Darwin's raw food that delivers to your door. She formulated a kidney diet specifically for a prescription kidney diet, specifically for those who wanted to feed a fresh food diet and still have all those, balances.
Tanya said, Princess throws up every time I try to change her food. This is something I love that Dr. Randy kind of addressed this in the last podcast that we did with him, because he was basically saying that when we feed our cats a normal diet, we kind of touched on this, but when we feed our cats just that one thing all the time, or just within like one brand, even if their gut microbiome is not prepared for diversity, like a new food, that's when we really have to slow it up. And he talks about slowing it up.
Slowing it down.
Slowing it down.
You don't slow up.
Drastically.
You
slow it up. Come on, who's with me? Slowing it down as much as needed. That it is something that's going to help them overall. But it's like Jay always.
Don't go all. Shooter. Yeah, but don't go all in, right? Like so if you have a cat with a sensitive tummy, then we want to slow it down. So instead of giving them and taking away that dry food and just giving them a can of wet food, a whole can of wet food, take 1 teaspoon. And give them like one bite, right? Yep. And then maybe a couple hours later, they have another bite. If they like it, if they're eating it, just do a whisper dose. Slowly do it. Then give them their regular food. But over time, we're going to train the body that that's okay, and we can do that. my analogy is always the Taco Bell and salad, right? If we eat Taco Bell every day of our lives, and that is what our bodies are used to, our GI system is just like, okay, we have trained it to process this diet every day. And then one day we're like, oh, we saw, Super Size Me or something like that. And we're like, maybe we should have a salad. You eat a salad, you're most likely going to get a salad shooter is what we call them, right? You haven't had a salad in a long time. And then you eat a salad and you're like, woo, got to go to the bathroom, right? So that's normal. You would expect that. You'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat that salad. No, you would be like, oh, my body doesn't recognize that salad. Okay, bye. That was gross. But that's okay, right? So if the next salad that you eat, it's not going to be that bad. The next salad that you eat, it's going to be a little bit better, right? So consistency and patience is key, but we have to continue to do this if we want to get our cats onto a better diet.
I love that. I just saw a question that said, is kitten food okay for adults? I kind of want to talk about this for a quick second because, we got most of our cats, our current clouder, at between 6 and 8 weeks. Annie was obviously 7 months old when we found her, but all of our cats, we transitioned to a fully balanced raw food diet instantly. And it's a lot easier with kittens, I have to say.
Oh yeah. I can't believe we didn't say that in the presentation.
I just want to address those kitten formulas are very high. They're higher calorie foods because kittens have so much energy, so they're using it up. If we didn't have that issue feeding them a fully balanced raw diet. They were getting everything that their bodies needed. Also, if you go to the pet food store, you will see that there's, the arthritis formula, the indoor cat formula, the hairball formula. Look at the back of the bag, you guys. They're all essentially the same food. Those are a lot of mostly marketing techniques. So I really think, whatever the age range is, obviously there's going to be some dietary restrictions for certain health issues that are going on. If something is going on right now, obviously you're going to be paying attention to that. But by and large, especially with kittens, we found that it was absolutely awesome to just
and no, it's not bad for adult cats, but if we're talking about a dry food, then yes, it's bad for the kitten and the cat. Yes. So my cats get me up at 3:30 to 4 o'clock a.m. to eat. I used to work early hours, so they were used to that schedule. Is that schedule for us until death do us part? No, it does not have to be. So we can train our cats, Linda, to get to slowly, especially if you're used to it, to slowly adjust to a new circadian rhythm or whatever. But we could do that. And again, just like feeding them slowly, we can adjust by, okay, they're waking me up at 4 now. I'm going to wait and I'm not going to get up till 4:15. And then, after maybe a couple weeks of 4:15, now we're going to move it to 4:30. And then we move it to 4:30. We can slowly get them onto a new time if your cats have trained you, which, most cats do train their owners, their parents.
Is chewing healthy for cats?
No.
I would feed it as I would not feed it as it's a treat, right? It's a lickable. Yeah. It's a treat. It's great for training, especially it's something super enriching for our cats. It's great as a training tool.
It's great as trickery.
Cat Mav, it's excellent. But we're talking about using a churu or a lickable as
trickery,
enticement for them, right?
Yeah.
A lot of cats really love them. Zorro won't touch them. He's a purist. He only eats his raw food. He will not touch processed. He won't even touch wet food. But for our other cats, it can be really helpful if we're switching up proteins or if we're switching up textures or something like that to use a churro because they find it very enticing.
Yeah.
In moderation. Excuse me. Someone is chewing over there.
Oh. I'm intimidated by raw food, mostly because I'm not sure how to manage and store it safely. I'm not there yet in this process. Totally understand. But after some soul searching, that's my hesitation.
Yeah. Googler, that's me.
Identifying the issue first is key, Hooper, right? So it's okay. It's totally fine. If you're scared of raw right now, don't go there yet because it's not going to, like we said, when it comes to that energy, it's not going to bode well for your cats. If you are putting fear into that food, it won't bode well. So don't do that yet. What if we start moving to a gently cooked food though, right? Like what if we move to, I don't know where you're at on your cat's health journey or diet journey, but if they're like, what if we just move to a better canned food? Then we move to a lightly cooked food, right? Like we can do that. You could stay there even. You could stay at a lightly cooked food and you're still going to increase your cat's lifespan by exponential amounts.
Health span, as Dr. Randy says.
Yes.
Health span.
Okay, so we don't have many companies that provide raw food here, maybe one or two, even though I'd like to switch my cats to raw. What can I do in this situation? So you can make your own food. So I recommend that you go to animaldietformulator.com and you speak with Dr. Susan Rucker. She is a phenomenal veterinarian and expert nutritionist, and she can help formulate specifically to your cat's needs or wants. She can help you formulate recipes that you can make at home, no matter where you are in the world. So I would do that.
Yeah. And homemade diets, if they're balanced, like they are with Dr. Rucker's recipes, they're also much more affordable than commercially prepared, fully balanced.
Yes, and Hubler, you do. So when it comes to raw food, we keep our cats have basically taken over our freezer. So we keep the raw food in the freezer, and then we take it out and we thaw it out. We don't thaw it in the microwave. You don't want to do that. You're killing nutrients. But we put it out on the counter until it's not like rock solid, and then we put it in the fridge. Or you could just put it directly in the fridge to thaw it out, and then we take it and we actually warm it up to mouse temperature. That's what I'm saying. I'm preparing their meal. So we put it into a stainless steel bowl. We place that stainless steel bowl in warm water in the sink and stir it, and then put their supplements in and all of that every day in the preparation of the meal, so that they have it at their temperature that they like, and also have all their supplements.
That Just Add Water Yoga. Hey, Christy and Karen both talk about letting their cats choose where to eat. Sometimes that's a game changer.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Do we have any other questions about diet? My cats love to munch on some kibbles freeze dried every day. When I crunch it up and sprinkling it, she doesn't like it. How do I navigate what she likes and what is good? You got to listen to your cat, right? Like that's kind of just the way it is. If your cat doesn't like it sprinkled, they want to eat it as the crunchy munchies, then put the crunchy munchies on top, right? Like, or give them that. If it's a freeze dried, kibble and freeze dried are not the same thing. Like they are two totally different things.
I think you're talking about freeze dried. It's the rehydrating thing. It's like how our cats really love their little snack of like Vital Essentials rabbit crunchy munchies. But if we hydrate them, they're like, that's disgusting.
Right.
Disgusting.
So we're unable to feed them rehydrated, freeze-dried
right.
food.
And hydration is so important. Like you do not want to go, you can't feed freeze-dried like kibble even. Kibble is meant to be, Annie and Jack are really distracting us. They're playing in and around the tree.
They're very cute right now.
Well, on the walk by the tree. So you want to make sure that they're getting that moisture, because freeze-dried food is meant to be rehydrated. There is not any moisture in there. So navigating what she likes and what's good, what I would do in your situation is, if you can, add a moisture-rich food in. For example, we feed our cats a fully balanced raw diet. For lunch, they get some wet food. You can look into a high-quality wet food. Susan Thixton's list just came out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you're looking for anybody that's looking for brands, go to truthaboutpetfood.com. And Susan Thixton just released her 2026 list. This is gold to us. She takes the donation for it. It's like $12, but well worth it. So many cat foods out there that she does all the research for us. And so
food, freeze dried,
she vets raw, all of these companies. She spends so much time vetting and finding they have to prove where their ingredients come from, where their sourcing comes from, what they're literally
information.
Everything. And so her list is our gold every year.
Yeah.
And so you guys can get that at truthaboutpetfood.com. Sissy can drop the link here.
So
too.
I would definitely just navigate making sure they're getting moisture in whatever kind of moisture rich food they like. And then she can still enjoy her crunchy munchies, just not as her predominant diet. Yes.
Diagnosed with kidney failure, stopped eating. Fluid therapy is helping. Finally, eating small amounts of Medicus. Oh, nice.
Great.
Got a lot of Hill's Purina. Oh, that's great.
Yes,
that's great. Medicus is a great prescription diet. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. For for you guys that are like, I can only get my cat to eat this much. Celebrate those wins. Pat yourself on the back. Do a little bit, tiny bits more as you can. But can be consistent with it. If they find out that they like chicken, if you find out that they like sardines, let's start putting that into a routine, right? Like maybe once a day they get a half a sardine. Maybe, whatever it is that you can add something in where they're getting a little bit more fresh in their diet. Celebrate these wins.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up because they're not on a fully balanced raw diet completely.
I used to love identity pet beef. Is it okay to feed that with kidney disease?
I would contact the manufacturer because we haven't tried that. We don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know if it's balanced for like if it's made for.
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not made for a cat in kidney disease or renal failure. But I really wish that we had the pointers from Dr. Randy. I got to get a blog up about this.
But we do actually. Identity Pet is what they're talking about, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's actually a really great brand.
Yes,
and they made Susan Dixon's list.
They may have made.
May or may not have made. Oh, thank you, Laura Lee.
What's up?
Walks away. My cat only eats in small amounts, then walks away, be it kibbles or wet food, and he gets hungry really fast. How can we navigate this?
Indoor hunting feeders. This is awesome. So, or time feeders. So this is cats. Many vets will talk about the fact that a cat's belly is about the size of a ping pong ball. They're meant for small meals throughout the day, right? That's how they're physiologically made up. That's great. So if you got a cat that's like that, then you can do your scheduled feeding times like we do, but you can also add in, give them that small amount and then do a little wet food treat in a fresh feeder and a little freeze-dried feed treat in, an indoor hunting feeder. You can buy them or you can make them with a toilet paper roll where they hunt it and they play with it. It's incredible for exercising their instincts and it's really enriching. And it also kind of frees you up from leaving food out all the time, which you don't want to do, but giving them their normal caloric intake without feeling like you're wasting food as well. Like I can feed twice a day, so they get half here and half there, but they only eat a fraction of it. That way you can give them what they want and kind of split everything else up.
Yeah.
Throughout the day.
I started trying to do this with my cats and had one that got partially blocked. So is that a normal thing? No, that's not a normal thing. So we're not veterinarians. I will say that. However, when cats block, it's typically more on the realm of stress, which could come from a sudden change in diet. But it wouldn't be because of the diet itself. Feeding your cats, if you're feeding a dry food and you're switching to a moisture-rich diet, that is what every integrative veterinarian will tell you that you need to do if your cat has any urinary issues, or if your cat doesn't, to avoid urinary issues, is to get our cats on a moisture-rich diet, because it's dry food that typically creates more FLUTD, the feline lower urinary tract disease, in cats is actually directly related to eating a dry food only diet and our cats living in a state of dehydration at all times. So just like with us, if we were dehydrated all the time, we're going to get UTIs. And then there might be, if you talk to like a Dr. Susan Recker or something, you might get better information, but there might be something about switching from the pH of one food to the other very quickly, that might have something to do with it, but I've never heard of that. All we've heard of is, in our 20 years in pet nutrition, is getting our cats onto a moisture-rich diet will reduce the risk of urinary tract issues. Can you name some calming herbs you mentioned? Yes. Chamomile, valerian root, catnip even can be a super calming herb for our kitties.
Laura Lee, feel free to jump in on that one too.
Yeah, and we have a calm garden on our website too that we offer. Well, raw and my cat's diarrhea, stuck on a prescription diet at the moment. So
this is where I would do microbiome testing. I would first try to figure out what is going on. I love that Dr. Randy.
We hear a lot of cases where it does.
Talks about it. Dr. Loudon talks about it. So testing just to understand where your cat's microbiome is at can be helpful. Then, so giving a cat what it's.
So where would they do that?
Oh, you can go to Innovative Pet Lab. You can go to Animal Biome.
Animal Biome for the microbiome. If you
Microbiome.
want to test the microbiome, you can go to animalbiome.com. And they have a kitty biome test that you can do at home. If you want to just test the overall health of the gut because of their diarrhea, then you can go to Innovative Pet Lab. And they have an awesome at home test that you can do as well. But I will say overall, from what we have, cat parents that we have coached along the way, the gut health issues, the cats, especially chronic gut health issues, when switched over, when slowly transitioned, but once fully transitioned over to a species appropriate raw diet, yes, those GI issues mostly heal themselves unless there's an underlying health condition that we don't know about.
I love that Marilyn Bickles here said, I totally understand those of you who are hesitant about feeding a raw diet. You should have been here 22 years ago when I started. I was a mess. Hang in there, guys.
Oh, thank you, Marilyn.
That's the
You're the
secret
best.
ingredient. Yep.
What's your opinion on Just Food for Cats food? We haven't tried it, but we have heard good things. Everybody's asking about Raws too. Again, we haven't tried that, but we have heard good things. Darwin's, yes. Darwin's is a good one.
Yes,
Adored Beefs is amazing.
great. Thank you for
They have
that.
supplements, not food, but they have amazing supplements. Ripple is locked into eating venison. Pretty sure in the wild he couldn't take down a deer. He used to like other proteins. Said okay that he eats venison only daily. Yeah, I would want to. Diversify it as much as possible. So let me tell you this: what we do with our cats, because they're like chicken, rabbit. They like pork sometimes. And salmon every once in a while, right? But like right now, they are not liking the salmon in their meals. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a lot of a lot of the chicken that they really love, and then I'm putting a little bit of the salmon in there. So they're still getting it, but it's kind of masked underneath that awesome, that protein that they absolutely love. So venison, you can do the same thing. She loves venison, but you want to give her a little bit of rabbit. You want to, diversify that protein. It's very, very healthy for our cats to diversify. Then add just a little bit into it, where it's kind of like she doesn't even know it until maybe she'll look around it. But usually we can mask it. We can trick our cats in that way. Followed up by an awesome treat.
Even with Zorro, because he's such a purist, I'll get sneaky, and you might be able to try this with Ripple too, is getting a freeze-dried food, like a different protein, and sprinkling it into his raw venison, mixing it up, just little bits at a time. And that way he's actually getting not just a different brand, but a different protein and all that stuff.
Yeah. We'd like to transition to a full raw diet for the cats, but I'm reading that means I must figure out in various supplements. To add in various supplements. Is that true? Would one need to add supplements to a raw food diet? So that depends, right? So if you were buying an already balanced raw food diet, so we purchase from a company, we purchase a balanced raw food diet, then no, we don't have to add in supplements. We do, but supplements have two definitions, right? So the definition of a supplement is either to complete a meal or complete something. So it doesn't have to mean food, but a supplement is to either complete something or to enhance something. We use supplements for our healthy kitties here to enhance their diet, right? So they already eat it fully balanced. It's totally fine if they don't get supplements. We use it to enhance their health. But if you are just picking up meat at the market, organs, things like that, then yes, you would want a balanced recipe so that you
that's
would
where
know.
Dr. Recker comes in.
That's where animal diet formulator.
Sissy is dropping that link down here as well.
Oh, yay.
Thank you, Sissy.
My gut tells me 9 lives is healthy.
No.
It's funny. So something that we should all know about. So this is what we learned early on back in 2005, 20 years ago, that we learned about the multi-billion-dollar pet food industry is the ingredients that they use in the foods are not just their feed grade. Okay. They're not food grade. It's not food. And there are people like beautiful Susan Thixton are actually attending AFCO meetings so that they will, at the very least, stop calling it dog food and cat food when it's not food, right? Because it's feed grade. It's anything that is what is the word I'm looking for? Consumable to humans,
right?
That humans cannot eat. it's the leftovers. It's the leftovers from the farm industry, the diseased, dying, decayed meat that they can't send to our local Kroger's, that they cannot sell to humans. That goes in our pet food. The leftover oils and fats from restaurants, that goes into our pet food. Euthanized animals, pet food. It goes into our pet food. That's how you get all these recalls for pentobarbital, right? Which is the drug that they use to euthanize animals. You find that when you test, if you look at the studies, the ones that have been tested, they're showing that they have this in it. What does that mean? That the pet food manufacturer decide, oh, maybe we should put this drug in there. No,
they're using
animals that were euthanized. Right. So the quality of these big name brands are very low, and that's how they make that's why they're multi-billion-dollar.
Ronald, because my cat has had pancreatitis going on 5 years, I feed him Hill's prescription ID wet food. He vomits with any other food. Can I get the dry ID as well and put it on his wet food? He vomits a lot. I would really, honestly, in your shoes, I would reach out to him.
I would not try to do the dry food. I would not try to switch to the dry food from the wet food. I would stick on a wet food. But then understand that again, going back to the ingredients in these multi-billion-dollar industries, that look at how we might be able to upgrade that. Is it the ingredients in there that's creating the pancreatitis? And if so, what does your vet say? Like, what ingredients are in there? Ask your vet. What ingredients are in this prescription food that you're paying high dollar for a wet food prescription Hill's diet? What ingredients are in there that's actually saving my cat from getting pancreatitis again?
Hopefully, yeah.
And then go back to our YouTube channel and watch our podcast, Back in the Closet is going to be the playlist Back in the Closet podcast, with some of these veterinarians where we talk about pancreatitis, where it comes from, and how to treat it naturally. Successfully and naturally. Okay, you guys are talking.
How do we alternate proteins without causing digestive upset? Slowly. Again, it's just slowly. So it's like whether you're
a healthy cat is going to be fine switching proteins, right? Like if they are already healthy, their gut is super healthy, not inflamed or anything like that, we can switch proteins up with our cats if they eat it, right? So taking that tricky part or the picky part out of it. We could switch it just fine. Nobody's going to have any kind of digestive upset. But if our cats have GI inflammation or a sensitive tummy, then we do want to, slowly transition them to any other food, and then over time, you'll see, you'll do this and you're like, okay, they actually made it fine with just a little bit. You can add a little bit more. And then maybe the next time you add a different little bit of protein. And then you'll see over time, because we're diversifying that microbiome, strengthening the gut by doing this, you'll see over time that they no longer have any kind of like upset tummy, diarrhea, vomiting, anything like that when you're switching up foods. So that's just how we can naturally get our cats on a healthier gut and microbiome, a healthier immune system, is by slowly but surely adding in little new amounts of healthy foods. I almost just got hit.
There's a gnat.
I'm glad it's a gnat, not a mosquito. Mealtime, one of my cats get directly to the laundry and sits and waits. The other cats go to the laundry and jump on top of the water. They sit and wait. Could be 15, 20 minutes. Yes. I'm telling you, our cats test my patience all the time. She is full of patience. She lives with patience. I think it's part of her Capricorn sign. I'm not sure, but they test my patience a lot.
Oh, my cats go crazy for valerian root. So do ours.
Yes. So the transition process is just for going from dry to wet or raw, not necessarily proteins. So this specific presentation that we just gave was on switching your cat from a dry to a wet to a fresh food diet. Yes.
Different kinds of proteins.
But stick with us, follow us, subscribe. We talk about everything health when it comes to cats. And if we put it all into one presentation, we would be here for 7 hours or more, because we could talk about this forever. There's so much that we've learned over our last 20 years that we try our best to share with you guys in tidbits where you can actually absorb the information. But in our cat tips and things like that, but switching up proteins, talking about microbiome, all of that is very important as well.
So Ashley, if you're wondering about something specific, reach out to us.
Yeah.
And we will do our best. I'll keep trying.
The info on where to get the 2026 list. Yes. All right.
Oh, Christy, I love that. One more question. I see question.
Where? Right here?
About the blockage. I know you answered part of it, but he was already on wet food. So when I switched the wet food to raw food, freeze dried is when it happened.
Oh, okay. So we switched.
Thank
And so
you for clarifying.
thank you for clarifying that. So I'm guessing that the freeze dried was not rehydrated then, right? So yes, then that could, not because of the food, but because of the moisture, right? So going back to what I said, like every veterinarian that knows anything about actual nutrition will tell you that we need to get our cats onto a moisture-rich diet in order to avoid urinary issues like blockages. So
let us know if that was
switching up. If we took out that moisture, then yes, that can actually help contribute to urinary issues in cats. Is taking out that moisture, even if it's super healthy, like a freeze dried food, right? Like the nutrients in there are good, great, way better than the carbohydrates and fillers and low quality ingredients, right? But without moisture, guys, again, our cats are desert animals. They cannot make up for the amount of moisture that their bodies need at the water bowl. So we have to feed that to them in their food. If we don't rehydrate these freeze dried and they don't get any other type of moisture in their diet, then yes, we can actually see more urinary issues.
Linda, I love this question. My oldest cat is very sensitive to me and my emotion. I also think he is ADHD. Love him. Past teacher here. I know you're not vets, but can food feed into that ADHD personality?
When it comes to that, when it comes to that gut-brain axis, yes.
It is really, more and more research is showing just how much it can impact their behavior. And in fact, like Dr. Randy was talking about, Dr. Margot Roman, if you guys are familiar all with FMTs, fecal, what do they call it? Microbiome transplant. When they do an FMT on a cat, they will often see, when they change that microbiome, they will often see a complete change in behavior for the better. Super, stressed out cats will become more calm. Super shy cats will become more social. It's really incredible what the research is showing. So I absolutely think you're onto something. Also, love that you pointed out how absorptive of your own emotions and energy your cat is. That's something that is.
It's so true. We're learning more and more all the time about how energetic our cats are and how much they absorb our energy. Do you like raw goats for cats? I'm guessing goat milk. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
You're gonna. And our cats love it.
Dr. Randy was pointing out, for anyone wondering, like not just raw goat's milk is great, different than even raw cow's milk, because it has doesn't have the lactose content, and most cats are actually, they don't need it. They don't do well with lactose. They're not technically, or some of them are lactose intolerant.
Yeah. What other than Medicus, is there any wet canned food safe for kidney failure? I would look into, and I also want to know where your cat's at as far as kidney stage, right? Like, did you do the SDMA? Do we know for sure that we're in kidney failure? Are we in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3? Because the diet's going to be different in a stage 1, stage 2, where you don't need to worry about it that much, to a later stages 4. Then it'll be different. But I do feel like I heard that Identity Pet has some brand. There were some brands back in the day, but I don't remember anymore because we don't have any seniors anymore. So I'm not quite sure.
The Panthers are 7.
But look into Identity Pet or ask the manufacturers, right? Like these awesome smaller ones are so willing to talk to their cat parents and customers. Okay, is it okay for cats to eat fish every day? It's not recommended by us to feed your cats fish every day, or especially fish is just like one word, right? But much fish, like bigger fish, right? Where we're talking salmon, tuna, things like that. They could be very high in mercury. And sourcing will be very important, right? So it depends on where you're sourcing the food. But if you're feeding these big conglomerate canned food brands, they all have fish in it. If your cat doesn't have a sensitivity to fish, they probably will come up have one eventually. Being fed fish every day. Oh my goodness, why is she so precious? And we want to rotate the proteins anyway. So it's not something that we recommend to feed every day, but in moderation. Everything is good in moderation, right? I add bone broth to their food. I love that. So smart. Oh, that's Karen. Hi, Karen. I love you. All right. Awesome. Okay. So I think we got to all the questions. We kept you guys here for an hour and 25 minutes. But thank you so much for doing this with us and for allowing us the opportunity to present this presentation to the world. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us. We stay as accessible as possible. DMs, emails, phone calls, text messages, whatever. If you guys have questions, reach out to us. We are here. The reason that we do this presentation, the reason that we traveled the world this year to give this presentation is because we want to make a difference. We realize that sometimes we could have really benefited if we had somebody to hold our hands. And we were, luckily, there's two of us, so we were able to hold each other's hands through this process. Not everybody has that. We will be here to hold your hand. We will be here to help lead you through this process, to support you, to pat you on your back when you can't pat yourself on your back. We want to do this. So reach out to us. We're here for you. Together, we can change these numbers and we can make cats live a longer, healthier, and happier life together, right? So thank you again. We love you so much. And we will see you tomorrow night for our podcast with the Animal Communication Collective, giving out free and mini animal communication sessions for a Meowie Christmas session on our podcast, Back in the Closet with the Two Crazy Cat Ladies. Come join us tomorrow night. We love you guys so much.
We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.